It says we're live, so that means I have to behave myself.
Yes, not like the last time. So hello there, folks. It's a quarantine everywhere.
A
So we're staying
quarantine.
at home. Quarantine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, quarantine. Yeah. And so we're staying at home. I think so.
That's true. Very true.
Yes, and we have a lot of time to play games and just to stay at home.
Just no one to play them with.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, that's another problem. But it's the best time to do everything else. So I'm not gonna talk about the bad stuff here. We're gonna talk about the good stuff here. So why we do this video is because we had a great idea about going through different topics, different
Mm-hmm.
top threes, and just talk about the games and our favorite picks from those different genres, mechanics, artists, designers, and so on.
Yep.
So I think that's the case over here. And if you cannot play games, then what you usually do, if you really want to play a game but you cannot because you have nobody else out there, then you watch stuff about games. So
That's true.
or
That's
you
pretty
do
much
lists.
it.
Yeah.
Also very true.
So that's what we did here. And let me see. Whoops. Here I have the list of my things. And we're gonna do the screen share as always.
As
Let me see.
always.
Chrome tab. Okay, share. So you can see that. You can totally see that. So this is Board Game Geek. We're gonna get a help of from that website to find some games, to find the pictures for them. You can recognize them, so you can find them easier and buy them, and then play them once the quarantine is gone. So at least you can buy some games. I hope so. At least I think here we can. Yeah, we have the courier service going on here, so you can
All
still buy
right.
stuff online. So that's good at least. Anyway, without further ado, I think we should start with some. We're not with some, but with a certain topic, and
Okay.
and I think we should go down the list as I posted it in the description of the video.
So we're
And
starting with the top three miracles of Jesus.
no, that was the other video.
Oh, okay.
Because I know only like the top three of them. So okay. Oh no,
Well, that's all you need for a top
that's
three
all I
list.
need. Yeah, that's all three that I know. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So, but our first topic is top three games from before 2008. From
Yep.
before, and I got confused with the 2008 and before. No, it's not. It's from before 2008. So
That's true.
2007 is the last year we could pick.
Hmm.
So we should just go through these games. I'm going to show them on this Board Game Geek website, so you can look for them if they interest you. I'm sure we won't have many crossovers, I think.
Yeah, we might. Well, probably not on this one, but we'll see.
Not on this one, but with some of these, yeah. But I think we have quite a few different tastes here going on
Hmm.
with the different topics. So, all right. So, Kyle, what's your did you do it in any order or?
Well, I did it the one that I liked the least of the three to the one that I liked the best,
Okay. So you did the order. I tried
generally.
to do something like that. With some, it's not so,
No,
not
some
so
of these it's
important.
harder.
Yeah. So anyway, so you're number three from the top three games from before 2008.
My number three game from before 2008 was Glory to Rome.
Glory to Rome. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
we've
seen
talked
that.
about that before. It's a
Not the
nice old
lorry.
one. It's old and hard to find and out of print and has amazing artwork. Well, not that version. I mean the real one. But it's a great little game with multiple use cards, and you're building all these combinations and trying to score points in different ways. It's been a classic. It will become a classic, even though you can't find it. But it's one that's well loved, and it's one that I loved quite a lot from back in the day. I'm sure we could figure out what year it was published in, but
2005.
no, that is
It
before
says.
2008.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the art that you were talking about, yeah.
That's
That's
the
the best
amazing art.
Yes, that's.
Yep.
I mean, the French version, I think, has the. If you have some paste ups and you have the French version, that's the
I
best
think the
way to do
Polish
it.
version also has good artwork, but
Oh,
I don't speak Polish either.
I think that was the Polish one. Yeah, that's the one that has some background here. Yeah. So, all right. So let's go with my top 3 pick, and my number 3 pick is Arkham Horror. So, to be honest, I don't remember if I mean, I'm not talking about the third edition, the newest one. I'm talking about this first edition, which was also the second edition. The second edition came like next year or a few years later. I don't know. But the first version came out 2005, and I think I had the first edition. I don't remember, but they're the same.
The first edition the first edition's rough. The one you're showing there is not the first edition. The first original edition is really
that one,
a very low quality game.
You mean that one? That's the very first edition.
Yeah.
87.
Yes.
But yeah. But I mean, like the newer one. This one says it says the first edition, first English edition, something like that. At least I don't know why. But anyway, yeah, that's the version I played. So, and it's 2005, so kind of fits here.
Right.
And it is a huge game. It is, to be honest, it is a great game. It just has many problems. That's the game you love and hate at the same time.
Yeah, it's not aged as well as some games, but
yeah,
that's okay.
But this one is basically the Arkham Horror. So basically Lovecraft stories in a box. You go through these boards, if I can even show you the boards, and you go to different locations. You collect different items and weapons and things, and you're trying to beat the monsters and close the gates and win the game somehow. But it's extremely difficult, and you throw the dice, and you're very unlucky with the dice and so on. So that's the game, and it was
the game. It's
yeah, it was one of my first games ever that I played.
Yeah,
I mean, like my second one or third that I played ever in the board game.
Yeah, I had it long ago, and I remember it was one of the first games I got that had a dedicated solo mode, and so I was really excited by it. I just really had a good time with it, and I loved the story. You know, there were some mechanisms in the older version that I really didn't like constantly counting how many monsters are on the board, but or how many gates. You know, that part was kind of annoying, but still, I do agree it's a good game, and it's definitely it fits the criterion.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I really liked about such games was the like money management, your stats, your health and things. A lot of that management going on, and it was really cool. Like RPG like. All right, so your number 2 from this.
My number 2, I'm hoping, is also before 2008. It is Through the Ages.
The first edition.
That's the first one I played. Through the Ages, I think, is old enough.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah.
There we go. That meets the criterion then. You know, it's a great game. We'll talk about it a little bit more in a minute when we get to another list, because it has a mechanism that I rather enjoy. But it's a game of civilization, and you've got this. But it doesn't really take place on a board. There's no map. You've got a board of stats, and you're manipulating those, and they give you increased costs or increased income. And you're mostly just playing cards. You buy cards from a row. The cards are your wonders. They're your leaders. They're war cards. They're military units. It is a long game. It is a game that I play exclusively with 2. I don't think I'll ever play it with more than 2 again. And I will say that I've kind of graduated to the newer version, but I had this game for a good long time before the new one came out. And there's not that much different, to be honest. It's the newer one's a little bit more streamlined, but the artwork's not the best. The game is definitely difficult to learn and definitely not what we would call short. But it's a great game and it's stood the test of time. It's maybe lasted through the ages.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's not the game for me. Too much management, too dry. That would be that would be a kind of a
That board looks dry to you?
not at all. No, so colorful. No, I mean like this game would be in my dry heroes list if I would like it that much. But
Yeah.
because for the civilization type of game, it doesn't even feel like that. It just feels for me like a ton of
Well,
management.
see, and for me, it really does. It captures all the feel of Civilization much better
Okay.
than some other games, even like Dominations or Tapestry do. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
captures the whole idea of starting at something small and building it up, advancing the technology. I admit it's not a pretty thing, and the older version had these little discs that would roll all over the table,
Hmm.
kind of like old, what was that game? Old Mission Red Planet. Uh, but
Yeah.
it's a fantastic game. The theme really comes through once you get into it. But it is again not for everybody, and definitely not for a large group.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So my number two is a well-known game. It's called Colosseum that got the newer edition as well, but I
Yeah,
played the older one, 2007. Yeah, was the older one. Oh, it has the newer artwork here, but the older one has this. I think is the older one. Yeah,
yeah.
the picture of the
I
older
can't
one.
see it, but yeah, it probably is. The older one looked a little bit better.
It looked a little bit more cartoonish, which was great for that kind of a game. So in this
Hmm.
game, you kind of you roll a move, yeah, but it's like you just move those two senators, whatever, whoever they are, the noblemen that want to watch your show, and you have your own arena, and you're set collecting the different items, your like horses, and then the trees, and then whatever else the people, the warriors, the gladiators, and you put up the show. And
Yeah.
the cool part about that is that you need to hit the high score. You need to get better and better each time because the only thing that counts is your highest score throughout the game,
Hmm.
which is really cool in a way of scoring because you feel the progression, it's not just like in the first round I got these points and then I got more points and I got more points. Here I have to outgrow myself, I have to
Hmm.
be better and better each round. So and you're trying to put up these bigger shows and you have a lot of the trading. I'm not the biggest fan of trading mechanism itself, but yeah, negotiation and stuff, but it did work here. It really worked here. Was the game that kind of told me that negotiation as such can be implemented well enough for me to enjoy. So
Yeah.
Colosseum, a great game. Set collection, high
I
score.
haven't I haven't played this in forever. It's been a really long time for me, but I do remember liking it quite a bit.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number one?
Well,
Your
so
topic.
when I suggested the topic before 2008, I did it so that I wouldn't cheat and put Summoner Wars on the list. But unfortunately, uh, my favorite game from before 2008 is another one I talk about all the time, and that is Twilight Struggle.
Okay. Mhm.
So I tried to prevent myself from cheating, but if we went back too far, I would be talking about games I don't know as well. So I love Twilight
Yeah.
Struggle. It's a very thematic game. It's a great back and forth two-player game. One person plays the US, one person plays the Soviet Union, and it's a very subtle area control type war game that's card driven, and it's a game that really rewards people who get into it. And if you like the Cold War, it's definitely for you. And even if you don't, you can learn a whole lot from the game and really have a great experience, even if you don't know about all of the different events that are on the cards.
Okay.
The game doesn't look the greatest. But it has aged really well. The gameplay is quite amazing, and all
Yeah.
of the choices on there on that board, or at least choices. They're like the coffee stain in the top left corner. That's at least a choice. Somebody somebody made that decision. Um, so it's not sloppily put together, but it's a great game, and it's almost it's for GMT, it's really their biggest evergreen, I'm sure. But for me, it's one that I'm always
Yeah.
really satisfied when I get to play.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. Not my type of game. I mean, it doesn't look exciting when you have a map with the existing countries. I'm not that
Well,
excited then.
I
I
will
like
point
the
out that several of those countries don't exist anymore.
yeah, that's true. Czechoslovakia, for example, and
Yugoslavia, the Soviet
Yugos
Union.
yeah,
Um,
Yugoslavia. Yeah, yeah, true that. But I mean, like, I'm not into real world themes that much if they're not like small themes, like managing the kitchen, restaurant, whatever, such things. So.
it's like managing the kitchen. It's just the Soviet kitchen. But
Oh, that's the what was the that's the yeah, name of the game as well.
yes, that's what I meant.
Oh yeah, that's okay. Okay, true. Because Soviet kitchen is the phrase in Russian as well. I don't
Oh,
remember what it exactly means, but it's like kind of a term or something like that.
could it mean a kitchen in the Soviet Union?
Kinda, yeah, true, yeah, like
All
that.
right.
We should try some soup.
What's your number one game from before 2008?
My number one game from before 2008 is that's also a bit of a cheat here, but I played that version. I fell in love with that version of a game, and that's Age of Empires, third edition, or Age of Empires 3, Age of Discovery. It came out 2007. I got this version. I mean, like, I think it came out even earlier, like 2005 or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe it's
The old version? It probably did.
I don't know. Oh, maybe I had 2007 version. But anyway, I had this version here, and it's a great game of area control and worker placement, where all the workers do a different job, because you can see all these workers. They have
Yep.
merchant. If a merchant goes out, he brings in money. If missionary goes out, he brings in more people, converts into our religion, and so on. It has the colony theme in it, but I mean, like, it's not that harsh in my
Yep.
opinion. But it's a great worker placement. Use your workers in different ways, and you kind of the worker management here is like resource management, which is a great combination of two mechanics into one. And with the set collection, you become even more powerful. The goods that you set collect you, this is your income. So it's a very tight
Yep.
management here, even in the area
It's a good
control
game.
stuff. And you're not fighting each other that much. I mean, you can fight, but it's not as cutthroat of a game. You have to invest in that to fight another player, and so I mean, yeah, I love,
Yeah.
yeah,
Every time you talk about it, it makes me want to play it more, but then I never do. I really need to get this game out again.
yeah. I think we both have the newer version, the Empire State of Discovery,
Sure, but
but I mean,
it's exactly the same.
it's exactly
So
the same. Yeah, just change the board, and the older board kind of looks cooler with all this art, but the newer board looks much cleaner. I do if you can get the older version, you can, but I mean, like, the newer version just fixes uh some production problems,
sure,
and makes the board cleaner, which is better to play on, even if it
I
has
agree.
minimalistic artwork. I mean, you should get the newer one. The newer board is better, even if some people say no, it's not. No, it is.
Well, and the new one has that other board on the other side.
Yeah, it's just a better production overall. All right, so this is the top 3 games from before 2008, And I'm gonna because it's a live show, so I cannot timestamp it right now, but I'm gonna timestamp it later for those who
Don't care.
will watch this video later. Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
we'll catch up to this video. I will timestamp all of these different topics. So we'll go to next
Okay.
topic. Oh, by the way, did you cross over between your own lists? I mean, like, did you put the same games on different lists, or you try to avoid that?
I did not actively avoid it, but I also did not actively try to. And I mean, I know Twilight Struggle shows up on another list because there's a list it just sort of naturally fits on. But I don't know if there are a lot of other crossovers.
Okay, because I try to not to do that. I mean, like, try to
Yeah.
give you 30 different games. So that's not that.
Well,
But anyway,
I think I probably one of them there won't be any games. A couple of them won't have games
I
because
mean,
they're
like,
not
yeah,
game
yeah.
related. You know, I think Twilight Struggle might be the only one that makes a repeat appearance.
Okay. All right, so let's go to generic fantasy games. Top three
Woohoo!
generic fantasy games, and I mean, generic fantasy for me is something like Dungeons and Dragons related, or Dungeons and Dragons inspired games, kind of like that.
Okay.
Your usual orcs and goblins and archers and
Orcs, goblins, and
wizards,
elves. Yeah.
elves and archers and wizards going into the dungeon or a castle and fighting all sorts of dragons and whatever things,
Sure.
collecting loot. So let me start first in this topic. I think
Okay.
we go back and forth. We will change
Fine.
the position. So my number three in this topic, in my number three generic fantasy game is Wildlands.
Ooh.
Uh,
I mean,
what? Yes. I mean, Wildlands for me, even though it kind of, it has those different special kind of races, but for me, it's a generic fantasy themed game.
yes, it is.
I mean, like, you have a different type of kind of a wizard, whatever they are, the
Yeah, they're
bird
different. They're different
people.
from your standard folk, but yeah, it's fairly generic fantasy. There's not really any theme there that's specific to that game. In fact, I think it's either been or being remade in a different IP universe. So
Judge Dredd is the other themed game. Yeah, that would be more
okay,
unique, but and that was, I
yeah,
think, more well received. But this one is just collect crystals, go into the dungeon, and fight the other people. It's
okay,
very generic. And there's the expansion that makes it even more generic by Adventure Party or something like that, which
mm.
introduces the usual heroes
Oh
like
yeah, that's right.
Archer and you know all of those usual heroes and such. So, and
Yeah,
it has skeletons, but it's a great game, in my opinion. It's a really cool game of PvP, and you have the multi-use cards, and you use those cards to move your different folks. You need to collect crystals, or you can just beat the other players, and you move out those different grades here. And it's just very fast. I like the multi-use of cards. It looks really cool, and
it sure does.
it doesn't have that many rules. The line of sight is almost clear. It's not that.
Almost. Actually, the
Yeah,
line of sight's better in that game than many others.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, like, there were a few caveats that I had issues with, but I mean, like, basically, it is
yeah.
clear. Yeah. So I just really like this game.
Yeah, I had suggested among the topics games that we really wanted to love but didn't, and this would probably have been the number one on my list. I
Okay.
really wanted to love this game and really did not. I found that there's just some usability issues with it that really kind of dampened my enjoyment. For example, it's
Hmm.
very difficult to tell which character is which.
Yes,
Um,
that's where we need to paint or do something about that.
that they could have had a symbol on them or something so that you could always tell, because it was always like, okay, is the character that's being affected by this card, is he the one over here or is he the one over there? It's just the interruptions, I didn't like that at all. It just really fell super flat for me,
Hmm.
unfortunately, even though I
Interruptions
wanted
look
to love it.
cool though. I mean, they are tactically cool. I mean, like if you use them right. I mean, it depends on people who play. You need to get 4 people who all play. I mean, like 4 is a little bit too much, but three people, it becomes very
Exactly
repetitive.
3, because it sucks. It's not very much fun with 2.
It's not fun with 2, yes. It's just everyone is in each own his own corner. But with 3, it's really good. I really like it with 4 as well. I mean, with 4 it's just the chaos, but I mean, like I like this fun chaos here.
Yeah.
That's that.
Well,
Anyway,
I mean, I know lots of people like it. It really was not a hit for me.
okay, all right. What's your number 3 generic fantasy game?
My number 3 generic fantasy game is Ethnos.
Okay.
Ethnos is very generic and fantasy, and the fantasy theme has very little to do with it. But
And
you've
ugly.
got it's a very ugly game, but it's a fun game. It's really fast. It works well with any number of people. I mean, I rarely like to play games with more than about 3, but this one will work well with any number. It scales very well. You've got some area control. You're playing the cards for trying to make sets of the different types of the fantasy races. This game really probably needed about 2 expansions, and it never got them, so that's unfortunate.
Hmm.
But even with what you've got, there's a lot in the box, and it's fast, it's light, it's very generic. I mean, the theme is barely there, but you've got orcs and elves and all your friends that you would normally
Oh.
see in a generic fantasy place.
Mm.
So I think it definitely meets that criterion.
Yeah. Never played. Never will. Just looks so generic and
It's
bad.
not a pretty game at all.
I mean,
Um,
generic fantasy. That was a hard topic for me because I avoid generic themes. Especially fantasy themes. I just try to avoid
See,
them.
for me, this was the first one I thought of. I ranked them a little bit differently, sort of in the order that I enjoy the games, but this was the first generic fantasy theme game I thought of. It's,
Okay.
it fits the bill. It's as generic as can be.
Yeah, it is. All right. So my next game is a card game, which is I'm just gonna say it. It's World Wars. And
It's what wars?
Volt,
Volt? Oh, Vault Wars.
Volt,
Vault
Volt,
Wars.
Volt.
Okay.
Yes, Volt.
Yeah.
Sorry, Volt Wars. It's really hard to
Volt
say.
Wars sounds like Tesla versus Edison.
Yeah, Vault. Yeah, how do you say
Hmm.
that? All right. So and Vault Wars. My God. It's a game about collecting those the different loots and like uh, elven helmets or like the war's axe and whatever, all those different magical items, and weapons and such. So and it's like a storage wars. It's if you have seen the series storage wars.
Hmm.
I watched the storage wars in Canada where they open up the garage or something like that. Those
The storage units. Yeah.
storage units, yes. And then they have the auction, and here it's the same. And you can bluff like there's the master who knows what's in the storage, and everybody else tries to buy that stuff. But sometimes you get junk, and it's not
Hmm.
always valuable. But you don't always know. You peek at some stuff, and all the different vaults have all different. Chests have different rules to them, how you do that or whatever. It's just a really cool set collection and kind of negotiation, kind of not kind of but auction game. So I really like this game. It is a your usual fantasy.
Yeah, I agree. Yep, that's
So
fine. I don't love
okay.
the game, but it's because auction games tend not to be what I love. But I can see why it fits on your list.
Yeah, all right. So what's your number 2 generic fantasy
My,
game?
my number 2 generic fantasy game is a game that I love. I love the newer version of it better because the old version was absolutely generic fantasy, and the game is called Catacombs.
Hmm.
And
Oh, yes. My God, I forgot about that one.
it's the newer version's a little bit better. You've got some sort of more spicy characters coming through, but basically it's your barbarian and your thief and your wizard going through a dungeon and fighting some monsters. And
Yeah,
they're just the same generic monsters you see everywhere. They look great, especially in the new version. They looked terrible in the old version, which I still have, by the way. But it's a lot of fun. I love the game. It's a dexterity game with lots of flicking of discs. It's great with two, and
it's great with only two, not more.
well, I'd say it's great with two. That doesn't mean you can't play it with more than two, but I prefer it with two. And
Yeah.
I love this game, but it is pretty generic.
Uh, the theme, yes, it's just your
Yeah.
skeletons and you
Yep.
go
There's
and
all
you
your
go through the
friends are in
dungeon
there.
by loot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gelatinous cube is there, so
Yep.
it's generic fantasy. Yeah, I forgot about this one. It probably would have been my number three, I think. That would
Mm,
have been our crossover, but I mean, I forgot about that one. I don't know why. Just skipped
it's
it.
okay.
But yes, I like it only with two. It's because I'm so bad at flicking. I'm so bad at flicking. I need 4 tries at least. And with two, one controls the master, the dungeon master, and the other one controls well, not the dungeon master, the overlord, and the other one is the heroes. And I like to control all the heroes because then I have more
Yeah,
shots.
I
You
understand.
know. Because Overlord has a lot of different skeletons and blobs and whatever he has, all these different monsters that he or she controls, and you know it's much more fun to be Overlord
Yes,
in
it
that
is.
case. If you only have one hero, you play each, but with
That's
four
true.
heroes, you at least feel the same, like a lot of
Sure.
shots. Anyway, yeah, all right, so let's go to my number one generic fantasy game. And my number one generic fantasy game is a game that I played recently in a legacy format, and that's Clank. And Clank is a generic fantasy game.
Yes,
Uh,
it is.
it's as generic as possible. You have your heroes, you go down the dungeon, you have this town, and you loot the dungeons, and then you go out, and it has the generic dragon in it as well.
Yep, it does.
But you have some golden bananas there, so which is not so generic. I mean,
Well, and there's a lot of
yeah.
humor on the cards.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's like a
I
Munchkin
debated
type
whether
humor.
this one would fit on my list or not. I love Clank. After you add some of its expansions, it feels a little bit more by its sort of on its own. And the legacy version is a little bit more, or a little less generic. It's sort of an IP, and the space version is generic space.
Yeah, but still, even the legacy version, the first
I
three
agree
games
with you.
are very much generic. It starts the same basically. You're in a town, whatever the story is there, it's like an RPG Dungeon Dragon story going on there. I mean, it
Yeah,
was. I was thinking about
it's
like
I
Legacy of
I
Daggerfall.
agree. I mean, I like I said, I was debating whether or not to put it on my list as well.
Yeah, but it's a deck building game with dungeon crawl. You build your deck. You have some movement points on your cards. You can buy new cards, and you're trying to move around the map. Try to collect those minor secrets and bigger secrets, and trying to collect the most points. Getting the artifact and trying to get out, but you make noise all the time with your cards. Of course, some cards give you noise tokens, and then those noise tokens
No, they
go
give
into
you
the
clink
bag.
tokens. Come on.
Okay, clank tokens, yeah, noise tokens. Anyway, so eventually the dragon attacks and all those cubes go into the bag, and then you pull out the cubes. Kind of a really cool idea of pulling out the cubes and seeing who gets damaged. And you need to survive at least, get to the upper part of the map in order to
Yep.
survive and score. So yeah, really cool game. I love it.
Yeah.
Your number one?
So my number one generic fantasy game is Clank. I debated whether to put it on my list and then did.
Oh,
So there you go.
that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nothing more to
That
say.
Nothing more to say. Okay, so let's go to the.
I love Clank, so there you go.
I thought you didn't. I thought you didn't
No,
put it
I
on
said
the
I
list.
debated whether to put it on my list. I didn't say that I didn't put it on my list.
Okay, that was a nice move. That was a nice move. That's a classy move. Right, so we go to next topic, which is favorite game publishers.
Yeah.
And we start with you first. Who's
Now
your favorite game publisher?
this one was hard for me. I mean, there are a couple of companies that whatever they put out, I'll pretty much buy. Even sight unseen. And the first of them is, it might surprise you that it's as low on the list as it is, but that's Plaid Hat Games. I've loved almost
I know
everything
why.
they've made.
I know why, yeah.
Well, you know why it's on my list. But I mean, I have really gotten a kick out of just about everything they do. I'm excited that their podcast is back now. I just I mean, Summoner Wars is from there, but also lots of other things. I've recently ordered this. What's that one? They have some pirate game coming out in the Crossroads series for Forbidden Waters or something like that. I can't remember its name, but I
I don't
ordered
know
that
that.
because,
I haven't heard about that one.
oh, well, it sounds like it's going to be fantastic. I just can't remember its name. It's either Forbidden Waters or Forgotten Waters or something about waters.
That's the
I'm
one.
sure we can find the answer.
That's the one here. Forgotten Waters.
That's the one.
Or
And
it has the app or something.
it has an app that does the crossroad cards
Okay.
instead of cards, essentially, and
Okay,
you
so the
play
first.
as a pirate. So I've already ordered that one. I'm excited about it. I loved
Ah,
the adventure book games that they did. I like Aftermath. I loved Mice and Mystics. I like Stuffed Fables. I really liked Comanauts. I played Dungeon Run with my brother a couple weeks ago. I mean, whatever you scratch with Plaid Hat, I've liked it at least a little, and usually a lot. The exception of Seafall, which I still haven't played.
yeah. It seems like the Forgotten Waters from them is like they implement the Comanauts in this one. I can see some ability cards. I can see the book with
Maybe.
those stories, things. That's
Yeah.
there's a picture, like a 3D rendered picture of
Right.
the game, the components. So I don't know.
So
Yeah,
anyway, that's my number 3 publisher, but any of the 3 that I'm going to discuss are publishers that I really like. So
yeah, but it's for me. It's also really hard to. I mean, like I really like very many games from very many different publishers, and it's really hard for me to pick those 3. But I mean, I try to pick those who I think basically always put out a quality game, no matter what, or almost always. My number 3 is uh, basically almost a sponsor of the channel, but not really anymore. Uh, it was at least, and that's Osprey Games.
okay.
But Osprey Games, I just really like the games they put out,
Yeah.
and they they've been very consistent with the quality of the games and
They
with
have.
cool arts and cool redesigns and production. Like London Second Edition is great. Undaunted, I haven't played Undaunted, but they say it's a
Oh, I
great
like
game.
Undaunted's really good.
Yeah, so I love the Lost Expedition, as you know.
I do know
Cryptid was
that.
really good. London was also
Cryptid was
very
okay.
good. Yeah, many people like Cryptid quite much, but
Many people do.
Undaunted is the
And I
newest one.
like it. I just don't love it.
High Society is the one they. I mean, like Osprey takes those some of the Asian games and brings them to the market. Takes some older games that have been forgotten and have a terrible artwork and components and make them better
Sure.
and make them come back to life. So that's a great company in my opinion.
Yep. I know you like Osprey games. I like them too, but and I've enjoyed lots of the things they put out.
They put out the Odin's Ravens.
Yeah,
That
I
was
didn't.
that had failed, and then they kind of gave free copies to
Right,
those who missed, like,
from the Kickstarter. That's right.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, so they
Hmm.
do make good moves here. So yeah, your number 2 favorite game
My
publisher.
my number 2 is another one I talk about a lot. That is Greater Than Games.
Mhm.
Specifically the Greater Than line. I mean the other there are other various imprints I like a little bit less. Their big thing is Sentinels of the Multiverse, and you know I love that. Uh, but they have a bunch of other games that I've really enjoyed. Their games tend to be a little rules heavy, sometimes a bit fiddly. I really like, for example, Spirit Island. That's another one that's really good from them.
That
But
was a
it's another
nice. That
company.
was a nice one.
It's another company that pretty much whatever they put out, I'm going to take a look at. Sometimes I decide it's not for me, but most of what they do is for me. They just seem to make games that kind of speak to me. So I really like them. I love the people in the company. They're just fun people. I still enjoy their podcast as well. And they're just good. I like Greater Than Games.
Hmm. For me, they have a little bit too fiddly games.
They have some very fiddly games.
I don't want to really go into their game. I mean, like
But
when
their
I play
games
their
are never
games, I
dry.
enjoy it. Yeah, when I play, I enjoy it. But each time when I would take out, for example, each time I took out Sentinels Multiverse many years ago, but I really liked
You
the
you
game. But
you,
I was like,
you
each
kind of
time I
need a
was,
separate brain to keep track of
yeah,
that one.
it's a burden. It
Um,
was a burden. And Spirit Island as well. I really enjoy the tracking of all those things. Oh, I didn't like that.
it can be rough. It can be rough.
Uh, but you took care of that. That's where it was
That's
bearable
true.
for me.
That's
But
hmm
if without you, it would be unbearable. I mean, like I don't want to track too much.
hmm
So that's why. But I really like the game itself. So anyway,
yeah.
so my number 2 favorite game publisher is another company who makes. That's where it's like a small exception because they also make fiddly games, but they are very smart games and have a lot of logic in them. Where my brain works towards these games. That's Mind Clash.
Okay.
Mind Clash
Yeah.
games, I think it was. So
Yep.
Anachrony, Trickerion, they have the new one coming. They made Cerebra here, but I like Anachrony and Trickerion, and every new thing they announce, I'm like, I really want to see what's coming there. Because
Did they do
Transhumanity was the one.
Trismegistus?
No, Trismegistus was the board and dice, the
Okay, that's
NSPN
right.
games,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
Calibration.
I was for some reason I thought it was them, but no. Okay.
No, no, Trismegistus seems to be a
It
hell of
definitely
a.
fits their bill.
Uh, but when
Heavy,
I
really complicated games with lots of things going on
yeah, but by
with a
seeing the
million things in the
review, I
box.
saw I saw too much fiddliness in that one. In
Oh,
that, too much. I mean, Anachrony seems fiddly, but it's not. It has a lot of logic in there. It's not that difficult of a game once you
okay.
play it one time. For example, and Trickerion is not the difficult of a game. It's very logical. It has the path going on. It's just very brain burning. It's
Yeah,
very hard to
each
grasp.
of those games is great if someone else teaches it to you.
As well, yeah. But that one is
That's
good for me. But I mean,
I
like,
like them. I like their stuff too, but they tend to be somewhat complicated and fiddly.
oh, there's the
That's okay.
Perseverance Castaway Chronicles is coming out, which is like the people crashing an island which has dinosaurs, and they try to build up
Uh,
their empire and colony.
Dinosaur
And
Island.
it's kind of a adventure dinosaur island, like a
Okay,
lost Jurassic Park kind of a
got it.
lost island thing going on. It sounds really really cool. All right,
Okay.
so what's your number 1 favorite game
My
publisher?
number one, I don't know if I even talk about them as much or their games as much, and so it might be surprising to you, but my current number one publisher is Awaken Realms. I have liked everything they have done. I never played Nemesis, and I sort of regret that. But
Yeah.
Tainted Grail is fantastic. They had this weird little card game that the name is eluding me right now, but I just found it to be so. I mean, the box said it was the best card game in the world when you it was like the mailing box. I'm really excited for Ether Fields when it comes out.
Hmm.
I just really like everything they've done. I do regret not having played Nemesis. It just seemed like the kind of game that I never would get played. But I just really whatever they do, if they make something, I pay attention to it, and I usually end up buying it on Kickstarter, or not on Kickstarter if they're not there. Uh, but lots of
Yeah.
their stuff is.
Oh, I think they have a really good management of Kickstarters,
Yep.
and they go on Kickstarter because they have a ton of stuff. And
Oh, it was Lords of Hellas that I played recently that I really love too. I mean, there's just another one. Yeah,
yeah, they tend to
trying to remember
go.
what it was.
Yeah, they tend to go towards a ton of content in the box and add-ons like Cool Mini or Not, I think, which I don't really like. Uh, but
Siege
it's
Storm is the
fine.
name of the card game I was thinking of.
Siege Storm, yeah,
Siege Storm.
yeah. But yeah, Nemesis is great. Nemesis is my number two of all time, and I was thinking about the Awakened Realms, and I'm excited about every game that they put out. But I haven't played Tainting Grail.
Did
I
they
haven't
did they do the Edge as well?
Edge, yes, the Edge,
Dawnfall. Yeah, I like that
yes.
one too.
Okay, so I haven't
Yeah,
played
they're
any
just
other
they're
titles,
just really good for me.
but I want to try all the different titles. But Nemesis is such a great game. I'm looking forward to everything they put out. But I'll see if I like Tainting Grail, for example. It's probably a great solo game, a
It's
story
an
game.
amazing solo game.
So that's where I was thinking about that game, and I'm sure it's amazing, and like 100% sure it's amazing, but it's just not my type of game. So that's
It
that.
might be. I mean, you can play it with more than one also, but it's basically a more thematic version of Seventh Continent. I really like that game.
Okay. Okay. All
So,
right. So my number one favorite publisher, game publisher, is no surprise, Stonemaier Games, and that's because the first thing when I thought about like what's my favorite publisher, who's my favorite publisher, and I was like, I really like. Oh, did I write it wrong? Stonemaier?
yeah.
How do you spell it? Okay, it doesn't.
Did you find it?
No,
Stonemaier.
Maier Stonemaier. I don't know. It
Yeah.
doesn't show me that. Okay, something. Okay, let it be. Anyway, oh, got
Well,
it.
if you,
I don't know why you
yeah.
didn't find it. Okay, wrong, something wrong. Anyway,
Okay.
Stonemaier Games made Scythe, Viticulture, Wingspan, Tapestry, Charterstone. Everything they put out, I'm always very excited.
Yeah.
With every other game, I have the newsletter where I look at those code names of games. He likes to put the code names like the next game is
He
called
does.
Sand or Clay or whatever. Like for example, Tapestry, I think was Clay, and so on. And you're like figuring out what it would be and when it should be revealed, and if there's an expansion to a favorite game of yours, and it just the production, everything, the blog he makes, and it just everything that publisher does, it makes me excited about
Yeah, I agree.
board
I
games as
like
a
their stuff
whole.
too.
So Stonemaier Games, it's the publisher that I trust 100%
Hmm.
usually.
Yep.
Even with Tapestry, that I Tapestry is a great game in my opinion.
Yeah, it
I
is.
just have
I
some
like it.
issues with that, so myself. So anyway, that's my number one game publisher.
All right.
Let's go to the next list, and that's favorite game artists.
Okay.
So that one was really hard to
This is hard to pick
justify the
three
numbers.
because, yeah, this is a harder one.
I mean, don't really count the numbers here. If I say something about like this is not my top.
Sure.
I mean, like I'm just gonna name three names.
Fair enough.
So I'll go first, and one of my favorite game artists is though there's one who is my favorite, but the other ones I have like that. So Mr. Cuddington is the one. If you know Mr. Cuddington.
No, I'm afraid I don't know the name.
Mr. Cunningham that made Steampunk Rally, Brass, the new one.
Okay, all right.
It says Lena Cosette, and there's the David Forrest husband,
Mm-hmm.
her husband, but they make it together. They call
Okay,
it
got
like
it.
collaboration. Yeah,
That's got it. Okay.
they are basically Roxley Games illustrators,
They're artists.
but
Yeah, they're
artists.
good then. I like their stuff.
But I think they made
I
some
just didn't know
others
the
as
name.
well. I
I'm
think
sure
they
they
made
did.
a lot of different ones. Yeah, not only like, oh, Green Forest was the one. Yes, I do remember.
Okay,
And
yeah,
Game
that's a good one too.
Masquerade. Yes, I like the artwork. It's so cartoony, so Disney-like, lively, really cool. It just, yeah, I really like
Yeah.
their style. I like their cartoony style. Yeah,
All right.
more.
Yep, I like it too. My third one is Quan Moria. Specifically though, his non-human subjects. He has like two kinds of artwork, and one kind I love, and one kind I don't love. But like the catacomb stuff is fantastic. The sort of more cartoony, more whimsical stuff I really
Mhm.
like. If you go into some of his other stuff that's more realistic, I'm not so much a fan. But I really love him, and I mean, Catacombs does it for me. That's enough. If we said that and nothing else, I'd be happy.
I mean, like for example, the new Predator. I didn't know he made this one.
Well, yeah, he did, and that's more the realistic stuff that I like a little bit less. But it looks fine. I mean, I
Oh,
don't hate
good
it,
one.
but I really love his sort of fantasy whimsical type stuff.
Okay, yeah, but it does a great artwork. I mean, there's one. What was the game about the robots, Renegade Games, robots two-player game or something like that? It was no, not two. It was a two-player game with the dice manipulation. You can make it a plus one,
Oh,
minus
that sentient. Oh, I hated that.
I didn't like
I
the.
mean, the game.
Yes, I didn't like the game, but the artwork was also, I think, Quentin Moria.
Yeah, I think it was, and I liked the artwork in that one actually.
Yeah, it was good. The game was terrible. Anyway, not
Yeah.
about games here. All right, so
Anyway,
my other favorite game artist is, of course, if you know me, if you know what's my favorite illustrated game, it's Abyss and
yeah, I knew
Xavier
that
Colette.
would be on your list.
I mean Xavier Colette. I mean, like, I don't remember what else he made, but doesn't. Okay,
Well,
anyway.
Abyss looks great, so that's enough.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show me to search for
Hmm.
publishers or anyway, what would it be? Oh, here. So yeah, Abyss is enough. What else did he do? Let me see. So he's done the Mysterium as well. Yes, that's one.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Some timeline. I see Conan. Some Dixit stuff is done, but yeah, Abyss is his
Yeah,
thing.
the only reason he didn't end up on my list is because I knew that he'd be on yours. So,
Okay. But I see. Oh, he did Obscurio. What?
well,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it's almost the same
lovely.
game as Mysterium.
Because I haven't seen him doing much artwork for board games, really.
Oh no,
But
well, I mean,
he makes a really good artwork. So
yeah,
he's amazing. All right,
okay.
your next one.
Well, my number two is Ryan Lockett. I love him because I love his style. I like sort of the
Yeah.
watercolory look of it. All of his games, even though they're different, they have a unique sort of style that ties them together. And I just love the way that they look. I like, he's also done a little bit of art for some other games. Like he has some dresses that he did in the new Predator. Strangely enough, but he sticks
Oh,
mostly to his own thing. And it's one of those I can kind of look at it and immediately recognize it as his style. It
mhm.
doesn't look like anybody else's.
Yes,
And
yes,
so,
that's true. hmm I like. I, I really like the box cover of Empires of the Void 2. Don't like. I don't like Near and Far. I don't like the box cover for Near and Far. It's too
oh, I think it looks
sandy,
great.
too pale for me. But Above and Below looks better. But he has
Well,
great artwork. he
And
has
the Sleeping Gods artwork looks fantastic.
yes, but
It's not out yet, so we haven't seen it, but that cover looks
we have seen
amazing.
the pictures. Yeah, but I mean, like I really like him, but I like him more as a designer. I mean, like he has great artwork, but it's not completely my style.
Okay.
I get a little bit tired of his style. I would love him
Very
to
well.
do something a little bit different. Like Empress of the Void 2, the box cover is kind of different from his usual thing. And that's what I like about that.
Mhm.
So, all right. So, and let's go to my number one. That is my number one, and he's my favorite artist, and that's Vincent Dutray. And you probably guessed that one as well.
Yeah, I know you like him as well.
I mean, Vincent Dutray, every time he does the artwork, I'm like, that's it. That's the game I want to buy. You know,
Mm.
that's based only on his artwork, and he's done a lot, as you can
Definitely
see.
has done a lot.
He's done a lot. The newest Atlantis Rising looks great. I haven't played that
It
one, but
does. I'll agree.
I really want to. Oh, Canopy is something I don't know, but I mean, like, I really like. I just got Museum, if you know,
Okay.
the Museum, the set collection game.
Yep.
Great art. I love it. Every picture is different. Everything's different. Or like Treasure Island, amazing cover. Rising 5, Ruins of Asteroids, or something like that. What's the name? I mean, like, it's done a ton. But like, for example,
Definitely has done a lot.
I mean, I'm showing. I haven't seen this art, this cover here, but it looks a little bit different from his usual style. A little bit different. It's Canopy, and he's the illustrator. I mean, I'm showing the
Hmm.
cover right now. Looks amazing. As you can see, he's so picturesque. He's doing very picturesque things
Okay.
with washed colors and things. So love him. Anyway, your number one.
My number one is Alexander Roche, who did the Golden Ages.
Whoops.
That's actually not true. I actually think that game looks terrible. My number one is Fernando Suarez, who did Ashes.
Fernando Suarez who did Ashes. Okay.
Yeah, Ashes, Dead of Winter, lots of Plaid Hat games, basically. I think some of the newer Summoner Wars stuff she did. I mean, Ashes is probably my favorite artwork game that there is, and I love the cover. I love all of the different characters and the different world that's been created. And so that's why she's my number one.
She's a great artist, indeed. Yes. I'm not the biggest fan of that type fantasy type artwork, though a little bit too much for me. But
Dead of Winter's not that fantasy.
yeah, Dead of Winter is great. Yeah, though. I mean, like Ashes. If you think about Ashes or like Century, Spice Rose the Golem edition that she has done.
Yeah.
But Dead of Winter is great. Yeah.
Well, and you kind of look at it like she did the artwork for the first Century Golem edition, and the second one, I think had not done that artwork, and so there's almost no artwork in the game.
Okay. Yeah.
And it really kind of shows once you open that game and compare it with the first one, which looks great, and you're like, oh well, they told me there are golems here. I don't see any.
All right. So let's go to the next topic.
All right.
We should try to speed up a little bit. All right. So let's go to
Yeah, we probably should.
favorite game mechanics or
All right.
I tried to go through the list of those different mechanisms that Board Game Geek shows here, but they have changed this one, and there are things that I think that why they aren't here, but maybe they're like named differently.
Yeah.
Because there are some things that are like map reduction, map addition. Like what? King of the Hill, Kill Steal. What?
Yeah, I didn't go that route. I went through the game mechanisms that I really like, and maybe I don't have a formal name for them, but I'll describe them, and I can name some games they're in.
I tried to like find them here, and if I didn't find them, then I would like. Anyway, so you start.
All right, my number 3 game mechanism is variable player powers. Sort of
Okay.
you've got your own special power, and it's yours, and it kind of defines your game. Sort of
It
think
has
of, oh, is
yeah.
that on there? Okay. I was going to say, think of, what is that? Voyages of Marco Polo. Think of Spirit Island. Wherever you go, you've got a unique character. It's yours. That's what you do. And I just think that's a lot of fun where everybody's a little bit different.
Yes, true, true. I just call it asymmetry in games usually.
Okay. Well, you'll see when I talk about my next two why I have
Okay.
to call it that.
Yeah, yeah, true that, true that. Oh, I got it. Okay, so mine number 3. I mean, like I didn't put them in any like particular order. Just
I changed my order about 6 times. So,
okay. I don't know how to put them in your anyway. My number 3, let's see, is simultaneous action selection.
okay.
Simultaneous action selection is a great mechanic. You can see it like, let's say, Mission Red Planet. Many people know about Mission Red Planet. It's you choose I mean, like it has roles, but it's kind of you're choosing action more than a role. You're choosing
Sure.
things at the same time. You choose the action at the same time, then you reveal and see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and whoever goes first or second or third and so on. The other one is Happy Pigs has a really good one
Yeah, that's true.
where you choose the action, then if you both chose the same, you have to split it. There's some variables there. So there's some change action selection, but I like the secrecy. I like how you're choosing at the same time, then you're revealing, and they're like, oh, he went with that one, you know.
Yeah.
The Roll for the Galaxy has Race for the Galaxy, Roll for the Galaxy has almost that's basically the same. Yeah, some things action
Yeah.
selection as well, with different twist to it. With you want to choose something different from the others because if others choose it, it goes on. So
Yeah. Okay.
that's your number 2.
Well, my number 2, I don't think you'll find it on the Board Game Geek database because it has the very succinct name of uncovering stuff on your board which gives you various income or powers or makes things better throughout the game. It's a very
You
succinct
just put
name.
it in a search. Uncover.
Yeah. I'm thinking when I think of this, I think of like Through the Ages. I said we talk about that later, how you're uncovering stuff and that gives you your income. I think of Eclipse, which kind of does the same thing. I think of Spirit
Hmm.
Island again, where you're uncovering it, that gives you your amount of power or your different symbols that you get or your card plays. I played a game the other day called Ikeon, where you did that. I mean, I just love when you've got a board and it's got stuff on it and you uncover that stuff and it makes you better.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know the name for that.
I kind of like exploration type thing.
Oh, exploration means something very different to that. Uh,
Well, I mean, maybe kind. I don't know. I don't know. Let's go with your
my
just
very succinct name of uncovering stuff that gives you bonuses or makes you better.
what do the initials make it up to? Uncovering.
Um, USTGIOMB.
Use
Ustigomb.
use use the gob. Yes, that's the mechanic. Use the gob. Use the gob.
Uh-huh.
Anyway.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. Use the gob. It sounds like Hungarian. Use the gob. Anyway.
Do you speak Hungarian? That
No.
doesn't sound Hungarian.
Okay. Maybe then. Anyway, my number 2 mechanic is I at first I put to be honest, first I put hand management and then I changed it because hand management is so I don't know. So I don't know. Anyway, maybe exploration. Exploration is my
Okay.
number 2. Exploration. I love uncovering stuff the same way. I go to that spot, I uncover that, and see what's in there under the rock. That kind of a thing. I like Seventh Continent type of exploration as well is
Yeah.
also very cool. I choose a path, I go there, I uncover that tile or card, whatever. I really like that. In Clank, for example, when you go and you uncover those small secrets and major secrets and so on, you want to get something cool, but you don't know what it is. That's hidden things that you uncover when you go there. That's exploration basically, or exploring the map. Also, you're uncovering new tiles, new map pieces, so which is also great with some new
Yeah.
resources, new things. So I like Nemesis has a great exploration. You explore different rooms, and you need to find some certain rooms. You need to find surgery
Yeah.
room. You need to find the engine room and whatever and whatnot. And you really want to explore the ship, and that's the whole. That's half of a game is exploring there, which I
Sure.
love. So your number one.
Okay. My number one was the easiest. The others kind of faded in and out. But my number one is different victory conditions. And when I think of this, I think
Symmetry.
of root.
Yeah.
I think, well, that's why I said I can't call it asymmetry in powers. I'm
Yes.
talking
Yeah.
about different ways to win. I think of root. I think of Chaos in the Old World or Cthulhu Wars. There's lots of games that do this where you've got sort of your own way that you're going to win the game, and that's your Archipelago did it. And that was the only thing that made the game difficult to teach, was that it did this sort of different victory conditions thing. But I just love when the game, when you're doing something very different than anybody else, not because of a power, but because your character drives you to win the game this way versus some other way.
Yeah, though I think I would argue with the Archipelago is that it has a different
It has
ending.
different game end triggers. That's true.
Yeah, but yeah, it's still really cool. I don't remember if there's any other game that has this kind of a uh, hmm, I don't know. That's Root and Vast. I don't know if any.
Yeah, Vast does it. Um,
Oh,
well, like I said, Chaos in the Old World and Cthulhu Wars both do it
oh,
too.
okay. I see.
Well, not really. I mean, Chaos does. Cthulhu Wars less so. But Chaos definitely does it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's a good one. So my number one is a game. It's a mechanism that's not on here, but probably it is somehow.
It's not on here, but probably it is.
I mean, like it's written in a different way or whatever. It's made into two different mechanics here, but I'm talking about tableau building.
Okay,
And
I like that one
tableau
too.
building,
Hmm.
I didn't want to say set collection because, like underwater cities, it has a very distinct tableau building. You're building up your cards. Some of the infinite powers, some with one-time uses, and some with action powers, like you have to activate it separately, and this is the great example of that. That's the tableau building for me. You're building up your tableau of things, cards, actions, collections, and things. So it's not always collection. It's a collection. So that's what I like. That's my favorite one. And out of tableau buildings, I think even it's more the blow building like engine building. It's also towards that way, like Homesteaders has kind of a tableau engine building. You build those different buildings in front of you as a tableau of buildings.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's what else? Elysium has a tableau building. They call it
Yeah.
tableau building. So that's it. That's my favorite.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I love tableau building. Almost made my list too. So as did variable or multi-use cards. I mean, there's a lot of game mechanisms I really enjoy.
Okay. Yeah. True. Card mechanism.
But I instead put Ustgion on my list.
Oh, Ostgeon, yes, yeah.
Hmm.
All right, so let's go to a dry Euros topic. Uh, top three dry Euros, and in this topic we talk about Turkey Euros, dry Euros.
Yeah.
That was a bad
I
pun.
mean, yeah, it really was not very good at all. I'm not going to acknowledge it. Um,
Anyway,
I love dry Euros though. This was rough for me to pick only three.
I was no, it was hard for me. I mean, like there are dry Euros I played, but not many I liked or loved. But
It was rough for me. I had to write some dry Euros off, like Great Western Trail, for being too thematic. Um,
yeah, yeah, it depends. It depends. So, but all right, let's go to my number three. My
okay.
number three dry Euro is Gold West, and
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty dry.
not the Old West, but Gold West. Okay. Yeah, Gold West. It's a very generic dry Euro game. It's Mancala. I mean, there's no theme. I mean, like you can pretend there's a theme. You're building up the colony and whatever you do, shipping goods. No, just pretend it just don't pretend. It's just tracks, points, things, area control. Very dry Euro, but
Yeah.
very clean, engaging, cool. As I told you, clean. It's a perfect midweight hero. Very clean
Sure.
design. So Gold West.
All right.
Collect the most points. Football color mechanic. Okay.
Well, my number three dry Euro is a game that I don't think you've played called Council of Four.
Council for
And but if you find it, find the original version, not the cool mini or not version.
it only has
Which
the
is the
only
version.
it doesn't have the other one. Oh wait.
Oh, well, that's sad. The older one looked even drier. It had a king and a bunch of advisors hanging around a table pointing at a map. And what you do, yeah, that's the
Oh
old one there.
yeah,
That's the old
okay,
one.
okay. That's the old okay, I see.
Is you would go around and put out houses and get bonuses, and that's basically what you're doing for the whole game. Is putting out your houses and triggering bonuses, and then you save up some cards and put out some more houses and trigger some more bonuses. It's a lot of fun. The theme is non-existent, but it's a fun game, but it's very dry.
It is, it is. All right. I blame this one. So no comments here. My number two dry Euro is you probably know why I like this game very much as First Class.
Yeah.
First Class, I mean, you can pretend there is a theme about you going somewhere on a train and it's a train game. No, it's just it's almost like a tableau building, kind of a not set collection, but tableau building game basically. But
Yep.
the
I
building a
agree.
tableau, you're building the kind of a route. You're going towards that way or the other way. The actions on the in the center, they even don't pretend to have any kind of a thematic field. I mean, like some modules give you theme, but the base game as it is, the base modules, they are rather themeless. And eventually, even if you put some modules in like the luggage and things, eventually will get lost in the theme is lost there, and you're just playing the numbers.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. It's highest points and a lot of points, points on game. So I don't know if
Yeah,
you
I
want to
agree. It's
argue
pretty
about that
dry.
one.
I won't argue with you. It's a good game and it is very dry. So there you
But
go.
a great engine building game, to be honest. A
Sure.
great one. So your
Uh,
number two.
my number two dry Euro is Concordia.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah,
okay,
it
there's
looks
not much
dry.
to
Yeah.
say. You are setting up a route of trading houses in one of you could be in along the Rhine. It could be in the Mediterranean. It could be around Great Britain, and and I mean, just looking at it, you kind of think that there's a lot. There's even an expansion that adds salt if you wanted to make it sound drier than it actually is. It's a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, I love the game, but there's
Salt is
no
a dry
theme,
resource. Yeah. Yeah.
and all you're doing is moving around, playing cards to do their abilities, and then eventually playing something that picks them all back up. That's sort of the core mechanism. but it's just getting points. That's what it is. You're building some your hand cards is going to score you a bunch of points at the end of the game, and that's all you're doing. I love it, but
Okay, yeah,
definitely not very thematic.
yeah, it sounds very dry. Yeah, it looks
Oh,
dry. Sounds
you've got to
dry.
play it sometime because it's a great game, but
I
it's very
should,
dry.
I think, yeah. I think I should at some point, yeah. All right, so my number one dry Euro game is another game that I love. You know, this game, it's in my top 10. It's Homesteaders.
Yep,
And Homesteaders, some
that
people
one's
can,
pretty thematic.
I mean, are you
That's a
kidding me?
juicy game.
Yes, it's very juicy. It just, the
You've
auctions,
got cowboys. That automatically makes it thematic.
it
Come
doesn't
on,
have
Great
any
Western Trail
cowboys.
was too thematic for this list.
I mean, this game, I mean, the auctions, they're the most thematic things ever. Like, and look at those buildings. They're just so, I mean,
Ooh,
like,
those are amazing looking.
when you look at those buildings,
I
you
want
can
to
see
move
the
right
different.
in.
Two iron is a forge, and like these two iron bars, they kind of they show you the building itself. It's so thematic. Yeah. Anyway, that's the older edition. It has a little bit
Yeah.
cleaner look, but eventually it's all symbols anyway. So it's a perfect engine building game. It's great. It's good with the it doesn't have the newer one. I don't know. Anyway, who cares? It's a great engine building game. It has the newer version of like this kind of looks like that, with some metal pieces and things. I love this game, but it's all about building up those building type things, as I told you in like tableau building, you know, homesteaders, and trying to get a lot of different income and trades one resource into another resource and trying to get the most points.
Mm-hmm.
It is extremely dry. It's a great midweight classic hero.
Yeah, I know you love it. I got to play it again. I just am never in the mood, but someday I will. All right. My dry Euro number one is one that I don't think you'll challenge me on. It's related tangentially to your number two, and that
Rising
was
Sun.
Russian railroads.
Okay.
I mean, basically, the theme of the game is trying to get as many points as you can. Uh,
This one
you
has more
move.
theme than First Class.
Excuse
It
me.
has. I mean, it kind of
What?
has more. It
It
feels
doesn't
like you're
even have a
building
train in
rails.
it. No, it
Yeah, but
doesn't. It feels like you're
uh,
moving things along a track.
it
It,
has a
it feels like you're
it has a
picking.
locomotives. Yeah, I mean, like it still has
You're
engineers.
you're you're going out and getting stuff that you need so you can move the black track along farther, so that then you can move the gray track behind it, so you can move the brown track behind that. It's basically moving up on tracks, the game.
I mean,
But I
it has
love it. Don't get me wrong, but it is not thematic.
no, it has twice as more theme than First Class because 0 times 2 is still 0.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but
Sounds like the
yeah.
kind of joke I would have told. Uh,
Well, that was from me this time. Okay. Yeah, but it's a great game. I really like, but it is a point hog game with no theme. It just tracks and trying to maximize those tracks. That's it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. A great pick.
all
All
right,
right.
that's our dry Euros.
Let's go to top three feed your people games. Feed your people games. Anyway, we should start feeding those people with your number three.
All right, my number three feed your people game is Food Chain Magnet. Now you're thinking, do you feed your people in Food Chain Magnet? Yes, you do. At the end of the round, you got to pay everybody a salary or they leave you. So you're feeding them with
Okay, I thought
money,
about that. Yeah. Hmm.
but you know, it's pretty much, yeah, at the end of the round, you've got some cost you've got to pay, or else you suffer some penalty. That's feed your people for me. Food Chain Magnet has won many awards for its amazing artwork and components. Um,
True.
but in addition to that, it's a great game, but it's definitely one with a bit of a feeding of one's people.
Yeah, it's Fuji Magnet looks like it was a Fallout as a computer game, and it's probably the first 5 minutes of Fallout, the computer game. That's how Butcher Magnet looks. The first 5 minutes they developed of the Fallout game. That's how this one looks.
Okay.
The script of things. Anyway, a nice pick, maybe. I don't know. I haven't played this one. But my number 3, and you might argue a little bit, but I think you won't really. It's Anachrony. And in Anachrony, you can force your people to work, but you lose morale. But in this game, you have to give your people water.
Yes,
you don't have to give it each round, but eventually, like, use a lot of workers, but eventually you need your workers back so you can do more actions. And then you need to do the giving your people water action. And that's basically feeding your people with water. So you get your workers back. You have to kind of pay them with water. Otherwise, and then the morale will raise. Otherwise, you can force them, but it's like almost getting negative points. It is kind of losing morale is getting negative points at the end of the game. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, fine, you can have it.
Great worker placement game anyway, and thematic.
I like the game.
I was thinking about, is it dry? No, it's not. It's quite thematic.
It's too thematic for the dry hero list.
Yeah.
So was Food Chain Magnet for that matter. All right, my number 2 feed your people game is Underwater Cities. A game I love.
Oh,
at the end
of
each production phase, you've got to feed all your cities a bunch of kelp. It's pretty easy to do. I've never had a problem with it, but you have to do it. It's there.
That's what I love the game. That's why I forgot about that one, because it's so simple to do that. I mean, like, you need to get some kelp, but it's not that hard. I mean, like,
well, there's lots of ways to do it. I've never had a problem. I mean, I guess if you totally ignored it, you could find yourself in a bind. But I mean, you want kelp for other things, so there's sort of natural incentives to go and get it. So it's just, you produce a bunch of stuff right before you have to feed everybody. It's just more of a reminder of something to do.
Yeah. Plus, because in the theme, it's like feed your cities. That's where I struggled, because feed your people is always thinking about, workers, actual people.
Well, who do you think's living in those cities?
Kelp people.
Kelp eaters.
Kelp people.
Yeah, quit while you're ahead.
Anyway, the Aquaman live there.
Very well.
Yes.
So your number 2.
My number 2 is though I now, by the way, I remembered one other game that I would have put on the list, but I won't change it anymore. But that other game I just remembered just now is The Last Expedition. By the way, it has a lot of that problem of feeding your people.
Yeah, it does. That's fair.
And I forgot about that one because I don't know, in adventure style thing. But the other game
was not your number 2.
Yeah, but no, I'm going to talk about my number 2 that I picked, which has very thematic type of feeding your people or your survivors, and I'm talking about Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe has it has feeding your workers, people, whatever they are, survivors. That's it. It's a worker placement game, very hard game, very harsh game. It has a lot of problems with the rules, but it's a great game. I haven't played this for years, but I still remember it being a great game. It's just so convoluted, so fiddly. But just an amazing game, to be honest.
Yep, it's a good game. I need to play it again. It's just one of those games that I have to learn all the rules for each time I play it, and so every time there's just so much investment to play it one time that I just never seem to be in the mood. But I agree, you do have to feed your people there.
It's really harsh. You kind of feel like you need to get a pot and then cook some food.
Mm-hmm.
So go hunt and so on. So your number 1?
My number 1. So if you were thinking of games that involve feed your people, the first one that comes to most people's mind is probably Agricola. And that's a fine game. I like it a lot. But because Mr. Rosenberg, once he found out that mechanism was so amazing, he decided to put it in all his games. And so my favorite of the games that have that feature is Le Havre.
Okay.
And in that game, every round you have to feed your people. You only have one worker. It's not really a worker placement game, but you have this sort of escalating food obligation that you have to meet. And there's lots of ways to do it, and you can borrow money and repay it later if you want, but you're definitely feeding. I mean, you've got to come up with 13 food at the end of round 4. There's a card each round that tells you how much you're coming up with, and it's up to you to figure out a way to do it in a way that it doesn't take over the game. Otherwise, you'll lose. But
Yeah.
I've just I've been playing a lot of this lately, and I really like it. And I enjoy the feed your people mechanism in there because it feels while it does kind of drive many of your decisions, it also feels like it's always very doable, but also always very there.
Hmm. I played that one. Not a fan of full Rosenberg games, but yeah, true. So my number one pick for topic called Feed Your People games is a very thematic game that we talked about recently. That's Dead of Winter. In Dead of Winter,
Yep.
you really need to feed your people. Otherwise, I don't remember what happens. To be honest, I haven't played it in a while. But something happens. The morale goes down, I think, something like that.
It does.
I don't remember what happens if you. Oh,
Yeah,
you get
you lose
starvation
morale if you
tokens.
can't feed. You get
No,
the
you
starvation tokens, and
and
you
then
lose
people start to
morale, and you
die.
lose one morale for each starvation token you've got.
Okay, and people start dying. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they
Uh,
well, people die in a lot of ways in that game.
yeah, sure that.
But if
Yeah,
your morale gets low enough, you just lose, or the game's
yeah,
over. So
but it's a great zombie game, thematic game with Crossroads cards. The first implementation of Crossroads system, and it really feels like you need to go and scavenge for the food, and it's dangerous out there, but you need to get enough food, and somebody of you is a traitor, but everybody is a traitor to be honest, because they work on their own secret goal and so on. So a great game, feature people game. It,
fair
it
enough.
is like it's very stressful to get enough food. It's very
Especially if someone's working against you and in secret.
or a food order. Yeah, yeah. So we have done the have we? I think yes. Or
Yep,
did
that's
you
the
do
three.
you did your number one? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was
So
Le Havre.
yeah, of course. And let's go to the next topic. And the next topic is gimmicky games. That one was like, what's gimmicky game? I was there thinking about that.
Yeah, this was a hard one. But
But
I found some gimmicky games, or
I,
games with a gimmick.
yeah, I found some games that are games with a gimmick as well. So, all right. So let me start then first. And is it me or is it you? No, me.
It is you. You better start.
So my number three game of gimmick games is that's a bit of a stretch, but I think about that in some certain way, then maybe not. It's Escape from the Aliens in outer space.
That's pretty gimmicky.
It's because, I mean, like nobody else has done that really. It's hex and move. It's like you write yourself on a kind of a spreadsheet type map with those different uh, the symbols, but different numbers. And you move on that map with the dry eraser markers. Everybody has their own book, a booklet with the same map. So it's very gimmicky because you pull a card from the center and then it's very I don't know, twisted in a sense of how it plays. I don't know how to explain that one. It's a
Okay.
hidden
Yeah.
move game. So I don't know how to explain the gimmick is everybody
Now
has.
that's not the game you're showing there right now. You're showing still
Oh,
Dead of Winter, it looks
sorry. Yeah.
like.
But anyway, yeah, if you maybe can I mean, it is gimmicky, but I don't know how to explain it properly. What's the gimmick about that? The gimmick for me is
Well,
those dry razor boards and things
yeah, that's what it is.
like hidden movement game with two teams with those different maps and kind of a playing the people more than playing the board, you know. So that's that. Your number three?
My number three is a game that is entire. So I tried to find games where the gimmick really, really just shines through. And the first gimmicky game I have, my number three, is a game I haven't played for a while, but it's called Mord im Rosa. And this is a game where you have a tower made of boxes, and you drop cubes
Oh, see.
into the tower and listen to how far down they fall,
Okay.
which is very gimmicky. But it's fun too, because it's like, well, okay, I mean, it's using a sense that most people haven't developed, which is, how far down a box is a cube fallen, and then you're trying to kind of at various points pick floors where your cubes are not, so that other people are kind of shadowed with suspicion. And the game itself is a little bit okay, but the whole mechanism and that gimmick of listening to where things fall, I think it's just a lot of fun. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't played that one. Looks cool. Sounds fun. All right, so my number two gimmicky game is, you probably agree on that one, that's Captain's Honor.
Yep, that's pretty gimmicky.
It's because you have a screen in between you, and you shout out those different routes and things, and you have dry razor boards as well, and everybody has their own kind of a role going on. And I haven't seen any other game like that, and it's very gimmicky in a way how you manage that submarine through those dry razors and shouting out things, and yeah.
Yeah. Yep, it's very gimmicky. I agree. It absolutely is.
Submarine management game. That's how you explain that anyway.
Fair enough.
In teams.
All
Yeah.
right. My number two gimmicky game is another game that's all about the gimmick, and that game is Dungeon Fighter. In Dungeon Fighter, you have this large target, and you're
Yeah.
bouncing dice onto the board, trying to make them land in certain spots, and doing things in different ways. Throwing them over your shoulder, getting down on the floor and throwing them, trying to make them bounce over a card, putting a die in somebody else's hand and throwing it out of the person's hand. I mean, this is a gimmicky game, but it's a lot of fun.
It is.
So
I
there
had
you
to
go.
I had to throw the die with like praying at the same time, like while
Yeah,
praying.
the sort of there's the priest character has to do that or something.
Yeah,
So
it is very gimmicky. Yeah, the throwing the die. Yeah, it was really fun. It's tiring. You cannot play it all the time.
no,
It's not very replayable in the sense of once a week. Playable
no.
in the
I mean,
sense.
it's one that you'll play and then be done with for a little while.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a good game. I like that. Okay, so my number one gimmicky game is a game that I adore. It's a great game. That's Chronicles of Crime.
Yeah, that's pretty gimmicky.
Yeah, it's because you have QR codes. You have QR codes. You have the app. You scan those QR codes to do everything, and you have the VR. You don't need the VR, but it's a gimmicky stuff. It's totally gimmicky stuff. The VR and the scenery, 3D scenery, and all these QR codes. It could have been done in a usual way, but would have
Yep.
been probably a ton of components. But they kept it to not so many components, and they could fit a ton of story and game into not that many components, and they could fit very many scenarios into the same like kind of a pack of cards, which is great. So yeah, very gimmicky deduction game, kind of murder mystery stuff.
Yep, I agree. It's kind of gimmicky, but it's a good game.
And the gimmick
All right.
of VR works as well.
Yeah, it does. It does. I agree.
Yeah.
I need to play that again. All right, my number one is a game where the gimmick is the first thing people think of when they think of this game. The game is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar, and it has this huge wheel in the middle of the board that doesn't do anything except kind of advance the 5 tracks of the game. That's really all it does. You could just move a token to accomplish the same thing, but it's very gimmicky. But it's a great game and it works well, and it's kind of cool to play with. But it's my number one just because when you think of the game, that is the first thing anybody thinks of.
Yeah, I can see that. I haven't played that one. I really want to try that one, but yeah, true. That looks very gimmicky. All right, so we've done the gimmicky games. Let's we're gonna speed up. I'm sorry about that. It's a lot of time we've done this. Let's go to the next topic, and it's games for 6 or more. So we're going to talk about the games that, I mean, like I try to pick the games that not just are for 6 or more, but are best with 2 or 4. You know. Oh, that was a rhyme. Okay. I tried to pick the games that.
You must be tired.
Yes. I'm wheeled, not tired. Anyway, that was a bad one. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, I'm tired. Anyway, what I want to talk about is that I try to pick the games that work well with 6 people or more. So start anyway. You're number 3.
All right, my number 3 game is a newer game. It's one that I acquired at Gen Con last year. Great game for a group of 6. It's called Ship Shape, and the way that it works is you've got these sort of foam core big tiles, and you SHIP SHAPE Ship.
Oh, Ship Shape. Okay, it's together. Okay, got it.
And you've got these weird sort of foam pieces, and they're kind of in a stack. And then you take a card and you bid, which number card you want, and the ties cancel each other out and bid again at the end. So then you're trying to get the one that you want so that you can put it on your ship and cover up spaces, and then you make a stack of 3 of these things and you look and see what you can see through. But because it's simultaneous, everybody's playing at the same time. There's my big problem with 6 or more is that the games really sometimes tend to drag, and this one really doesn't. And actually, it's better with a higher player count, just because you've got more competition and a little bit more fun that can happen as people knock each other out. And so I like this game with 6.
Okay, yeah. I haven't played this one. Didn't even hear about it.
You should. You probably like it. It's fun.
All right.
It's hard to store.
My number 3. My number 3. There are basically like party games work well with bigger number of players. I tried not to pick the party games, but I don't really play games with 6 or more.
I don't either. This was a rough one for me.
Four people is already a lot to bear. Anyway, so my number 3 is Codenames, and I think Codenames is best as a 6-player game for me, because one is a master or the clue giver, and then you discuss with another person, and that's it. You don't need it.
I agree.
If you have 3 people discussing things, then it's already a little bit too much. If you have 2 people discussing, you 2 discuss stuff, and then you choose something. That's the perfect spot. So it's a word guessing game in teams. Codenames.
Yep, and it works well with 6. So there you go. My number 2 game, this one almost feels like a cheat. That's because it's playable with exactly 6. You can't play with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You have to play with 6. And it's a game that I never get to play for that reason, and because it's very complicated and takes a really long time. But the game is called Here I Stand.
Okay.
It's basically 6-player Twilight Struggle set in the Wars of Reformation. You've got one player who's the Catholics, one who's the Protestants. You've got the British and the French, and you've got the Austrians and the Ottoman Turks. And those are kind of the factions that are opposing each other, but everybody's kind of working together and allying with each other. But you really need 6. You can't play it with any other number, or else it's weird. The game does not look great. The game rule book is written with, sort of look like a technical manual with, section 3.7.A.1. It's a bear to teach. It's a bear to set up. You'd think, why is it even on my list? It's because I really like the game, and it is a 6-player game. So there you go.
Okay. Yeah. I've never played that one. Doesn't really.
I think you will never play this one.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. I'm sure of that. Yeah.
I would recommend Twilight Struggle before I recommended this one.
I see. All right. So my number 2 is a more recent game, 2019, I think, and that's Obscurio. Obscurio is a better version of Mysterium. That's basically it.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Well, it's good.
I like Obscurio more than Mysterium because it's so lively. I mean, like you can play Mysterium with 6 players, and it works, but it's like 6 players. Oh, like it's the same problem with code names. Too many people discussing stuff, and everybody has their own stuff, and the clue giver needs a lot of time to pick clues for 6 players. Here, you have a traitor, and you have a timed guessing of the door, and those pictures and things, and it's very lively, it's very fast, it's very engaging. It just works with bigger number of players really well.
Sure.
Because it's very chaotic. You don't have much time to discuss. It doesn't hold you back. So that's that. I really like Obscurio, picture guessing game, kind of, in a vibe of Mysterium. It's Mysterium 2.0 basically. So your number 1.
My number 1 game for 6 or more is just one. It's for 6 or 7.
Or just one.
That's 6 or... Yeah, it's a party game. I tried not to fill the list with party games, but this one definitely is. It's a lot of fun though, and it works really well. Everybody gives a 1-word clue. You've got one person who's trying to guess that, but if you give the same clue as somebody else, then your clues cancel each other out, and the guesser does not get that clue. So you're trying to think about what?
I found the Hungarian version.
Oh, so is it? I can't see it. Chalk egg. Yeah, chalk egg. That means just one.
I figured that one out. Yeah.
Chalk egg. It's for our Hungarian-speaking audience. Anyway, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun. It's very short, very fast, very easy to teach to anybody. I mean, if you've got a group of 6. You usually, all right, Here I Stand doesn't follow this rule, but you usually don't want to be teaching something super complicated because it's going to take forever. And this one is just so easy to play and repeatable, and everybody always has a good time with it.
Yeah. I haven't played this one, but I really want to try.
All right.
I showed you the Hungarian version, but there's the English version as well.
It looks very different.
And Chinese, Japanese, Korean.
Okay.
It says guess. I'm trying. Anyway, my number 1 game for 6 or more, and this game really needs, I think, 6 people. I mean, you can play with 5, but it's better to go 6 or 7. I think it doesn't go to 8, or maybe it does. It's Insider.
Yeah,
Inside. It's another party game, but it's another word guessing game. But I think 6 is the sweet spot for that game. Oh, it goes up to 8. Okay, but I mean, like 5 is on the edge. I don't really. I like 6 because it has enough people to hide Insider better. Otherwise, the Insider is very noticeable with less players.
It can be.
If you play it with 3, like if you would play it with 3 players, it's not playable with 3 players. But I mean, like one would be Master, would be Insider, and the last one would be
who it was.
Yes, because the Master is always obvious. With 4 players, I mean, like, why should you play with 4? Because it's like Insider two commons and the master, and it's so
Mhm.
easy to guess who's the insider. I mean, like with more players, it's a bit easier to hide yourself, but you still
Yep.
can ruin yourself. I like it with six. It's a word guessing game with timer, with hidden roles. Just a great party game.
Yeah, it's a fine game. I really like it too. It actually almost made the list, as did its cousin Werewords. I just at the last minute decided to put Here I Stand on because it's a game that's with six that I love to play but never get to.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
All right. Sorry. Let's go to the last topic. And
the last
the last,
topic in the top three of Palooza.
it's probably the best topic for those who cannot really bring guests because of the quarantine, and
The
it's
top
games for
two,
two.
three solo games.
No, it's yeah, solo games as well, but people
That's for
who
people who
live
can't bring guests.
with their spouses, and it's games for two. Yeah,
Okay,
if you have another human being in your house or a cat, you can play games for two, or a dog. No, cat. Cat is smarter. Sorry. Oops. Uh,
so
anyway,
what's your number three game for two?
yes. Thank you for saving me.
Mm-hmm.
My number three is a perfect game for two, but be careful because it can be a little bit cutthroat. But if you're fine with that, then get this one. It's Seven Wonders Duel.
Good.
I
Yep,
mean,
agree.
it's a perfect two-player game. For me, it's just this is the definitive two-player game.
Yep.
Uh, it just works so well. You would never think of it as a more than two-player game, even
No, well,
combining two copies.
because it's
I
Seven
mean,
Wonders
like,
Duel.
yeah,
Because
it's
it's for two
designed like that,
players.
but I mean, like sometimes, like for example, Santorini is a two-player game, but you can play it with three or four, and you can, but I mean, like it's a two-player game.
But
Like,
you shouldn't.
yeah.
Um,
Anyway, yeah,
fair,
but I mean,
I
like,
agree with you. This is a good two-player game.
yeah. So, card tableau building and card drafting game. You're trying to win by three different winning conditions, and that's it.
Yep, it's great.
Trying to
I
score the
love
most
Seven Wonders
points,
Duel.
or military or something like that. Anyway, your number three.
My number three is a game from 2019. A game that as soon as I knew it was out, I knew I would love it. It is a game I played a lot of. It is Unmatched.
Unmatched. Okay.
Unmatched is another game that you could play with three or four if you're foolish, but it's really a two-player game where you take one character and it's card combat and you're moving around trying to eliminate the other character. It's a two-player game. It's fast. It's short. You've got a bunch of different characters. It needs a bunch more, but they're coming. So I really love Unmatched.
Yeah, I'll play this once. It's not for me, but I can see the appeal. I can see it worked well. I mean, it just
Yeah,
that kind of a PvP for me is. I mean, like Wildlands is a PvP game. I like Wildlands because it's wider, and you play with more people, and you kind of can do different stuff. And this one, you just go and fight. That's the whole thing
that
you do.
that is
So
what you
that's
do.
where I'm not the biggest fan of that.
Yeah. Well, I love
For
it.
me, yeah. Oh, I forgot one two-player game that I would have put here instead of Seven Wonders Duel. Maybe. Oh,
Well,
I forgot that one.
it is your turn again, so you can talk about whatever game you want.
I'm gonna change it because I think the game that I remembered right now needs a little bit more attention because that other game already has a lot of attention. I'll
All right.
like the game I put on the list, Santorini,
Sure.
but the game I now remember because of the fighting is Combo Fighter.
Fair enough.
I,
I agree.
I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it because Combo Fighter is such a great
Combo Fighter is such a
two-player
great
game.
game.
I mean, a two-player game. It's just so fast, so engaging. It's a deck of cards, and you try to do some combos in order to get the most damage. Damage is basically discarding the cards from your deck and/or hand. And you have some special abilities that you can activate eventually and become better, and so on. But you have certain combinations, and you can do like if you win, like it's rock paper scissors mechanic, and if you win the round of that, you can lay down some more cards that correlate correlate to each other through the symbols. They kind of continuously connect to each other, so you can do more damage. And characters are very different. Some characters are very defensive. Some have a lot of like that color or that symbol, and they are very different. Some are like the first damage that you do, you don't really do the damage, but it always depends on the second or third card. That's where you do the damage or something like that. They're very stylistic, very stylish fighters as well. So I like that. It has quite a lot of
I like the
symmetry
game
as well. Yeah,
I played it once and immediately bought it.
yeah. So
I mean,
Combo Fighter.
two-player games are kind of my thing, right? I mean, that's just the kind of game I like the most. So this is
And
definitely
it's so
the game I
fast.
enjoy.
It's so fast.
It is.
Boom, boom, and done. You play the game. That's it. You choose another fighter. You play the game. Okay. So your number.
Well, so I'm going to change. So I'm going to tell you my original number 2. I already talked about. This was the crossover. Was going to be Twilight Struggle, but because I already talked about Twilight Struggle, which is an excellent two-player game, but only for 2, I'm going to talk about a game I did not talk about today, and that is Codex.
Okay. Because I changed
Codex.
it also.
Well, I figured since Twilight Struggle still is my number 2, but we'll talk about Codex here. Codex is a game where you're trying to you're attacking your opponent, and you've got this binder, and in the binder you have all these cards, and you're building. You can build your characters to go out and fight, or you can improve your base and get new special abilities. You can upgrade your character so that you have additional abilities to cast spells. It's just it's not that fast, and it's kind of complicated, but it's a really great game with there's 6 different colors, almost like Magic the Gathering style, and each one has its own different theme. And so, like, the purple is the time travelers, but you have to pick one row. Like, you can do basic cards in any of the rows, but you can be the past character who only does things that happen in the past. Or you can do the futurist who does stuff, but then it does it now and it comes up later because it's coming in the future. There's undead and big monsters that can come out, and there's a lot of stuff there. It's a little too complicated for me to play as often as I'd like, which is why normally it's not going to make my top 3 list, but it's got a special dispensation today. I love Codex. It's very expensive, unfortunately, but it's a great game to play, and it's also done. It's one of those games you can buy just the final set and just have everything. So that's good.
True that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've never played that one, but sounds interesting. All right. So my number 1 two-player game, and this is a series of games, or let's say a family of games, and that's, you probably know, it's escape room games. I mean, like, escape room games is best as 2, because if you play it alone, you can play it alone. And I'm gonna pick Unlock, for example, let's say, because I really do enjoy Unlock, and I started enjoying Unlock again recently. Though I played many different escape room games, many different scenarios. Exit, the game, but Exit, at some point, Exit had a problem for me, like too much of that gimmicky, destroying stuff, and I don't know. I just, at some point, I got tired of this kind of a too much puzzle and no story. I want to have this kind of a balance between story and puzzles, and have some more picturesque things. And Unlock has a lot of cool arts and kind of a more theme, and this kind of an app and things. So escape room games are best with 2, because, like, if you play it solo and you get stuck, it gets frustrating.
Yes, it does.
if you play it with more than two, if you play it with three or four, it's the same problem as with like code names and as well. If you have too many people discussing and looking at those pictures, just too many people, it gets in the way. With two, it's perfect. It's you discuss with each other, you get to conclusion. The card is in the middle of you. You don't have to take the card into your hands, and like you kind of can look at the card from the same angle at the same time, which is also great thing. So I just love escape room games, and I'm gonna point out Unlock.
You do.
Unlock is the best. Is the best in those kind of in the family because of more story. Not all the scenarios are great, but I mean, very many of them are. A great story, great art, and cool puzzles, and very cool implementation of the app. So,
All right.
And your
Well,
number one?
my number one two-player game is going to come as a huge shock to you, but that's Summoner Wars. I mean, I really can't mention anything else as my favorite two-player game because that's it. It's a two-player game. But,
Wars. I'm sorry.
It's not Summoner Wars. That does sound like a different channel. I'm excited. I'm excited and a little bit worried for the 2.0 version that's being worked on. I listened to Colby Dow talk about some of the changes, and I don't know. I might be somebody who says don't mess with my Summoner Wars, but I love how simple the deck building is. I love how fast the game is to teach and play. I love how each of the 40 different summoners feels very different and has different things you can do, and just sort of the options that the game gives you. I just really love the game. And it's a two-player game. You can play it with 3 and 4, but you really shouldn't. And it requires essentially 2 copies to do so anyway. So who's doing that? I have, but it's a two-player game. But it's the best two-player game. It's also the best game. There you go.
Yeah, I've played this one. I can see it being a really good game, but with a criteria that you have to play it constantly. You have to be good at that game. You need to have the balance between the players. I mean, like, because the more experienced player will totally destroy the newbie. It's a game that you need to play.
Well, it depends on who it is. Sometimes you can hold back a little bit to let the new person have some fun. But I like like when I was on the cruise, I taught it all, or at Dice Tower West, I just would sit down and teach it. I'd find somebody to teach it. And even though I've played it lots of times, I can play a deck, a deck that I don't know as well, and still have a great time, and also still let the other person feel like he's doing something.
Yeah.
So
all right.
I don't know. It's not a surprise that it's my number one two-player game, though.
Yeah, true that. Yeah, and I'm not surprised that escape room games is my number one, sorry, for two-player games because I love them. All right, so this is all the top threes we have. Top 3 Apalooza.
It is.
So and
that was a lot of them.
That's a lot of them. It's 60 games almost. We had.
It is 60 games because I remember I took Twilight Struggle off and didn't talk about it again.
Although
we did cross over on we crossed over on Clank. So
Clank, I think, was the only one. I think everything else was different. So that's it. That's 59 games, almost 60.
Well, we also talked about a few extras though, so we're okay. That's definitely enough games.
And
in the last 2 hours.
Yeah, that's it for a long time, but it's a lot of games anyway. So do you have a lot of recommendations that you can buy online, play them with
Some of them,
or with 6 players? Once the quarantine is over, then you can play it with 6 players as well. Some 6 players games and so on. So, but anyway, you can dig into those and see if you like some of them, if you haven't heard about them. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you another time with another video of Würfelcast. We're gonna do a usual episode of Würfelcast soon. I think so. Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, with the usual stuff of Kickstarter news and like recent plays and guess the game stuff. So it's coming. I just need to play some games.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just need to read about the miracles of Jesus. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, whoops. Oh, we're here now.
All right.
Thank you. And bye-bye. That's all I want to say. Stay safe and wash
Good
your
night.
hands. Good night. Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. No, don't. No,
All right. Bye.
that was gross. No. Oh my. I'm gonna end the show now on a high
Very
note.
well.